see the beauty in you. I see the power in you. I see the greatness in you, and so it is. I see the child in you. I see the sweetness in you. I see the softness in you, and so it is. I can see it. It's right here before me. I can feel it deep in my soul. I just know it. You are an angel. You're full of magic and power and pure sweet love. I see the goodness in you. I see the wisdom in you. I see the strength in you, and so it is. I see the joy that's in you. See your light shining through. I see the love in you, and so it is. I can see it. It's right here before me. I can feel it deep in my soul. Yeah, I just know it. You are an angel. You're full of magic and power and pure sweet love. I can see it. It's right here before me. I can feel it deep in my soul. I just know it. You are an angel. You're full of magic and power and pure sweet love. I see the grace that's in you. I see the courage in you. I see the heart in you, and so it is. I see the beauty in you. I see the power in you. I see the greatness in you, and so it is. I see the child in you. I see the sweetness in you. Oh, you see it in me too? Thank you. I see the goodness in you. Oh. And there's the wisdom too. I see the strength in you. I see your light. I see your light shining through. Oh, there's the love, there's the love, there's the love, there's the love in you. And so it is. And so it is. One more time. And so it is.
Yes, that was, okay, stop it. Talking to inanimate objects. I wonder if that's a disease that should be reported. I'm not sure. So my dears, it's good to have you here. It was great to have that music. It was good to be able to sing together. I don't know, I was singing with you in my head. I wouldn't sing out loud with you because people could tell the difference. But I'm going to talk about that in a minute. We all have our gifts. Today I'm going to talk about a really happy thing, loneliness and isolation. So let's just get right to it. It's bothered me for a while. it's bothered me for a while. Loneliness, detachment, isolation has reached epidemic proportions. It's now named as one of the biggest epidemics and problems in the United States and the world. Can you imagine? Wow. And so many months ago, when I was supposed to come up with talk titles for this month, because people want to know ahead of time, and I have no idea why. I think we should just say, Kathianne's going to talk about what she wants to talk about. Blah. Because most of the time I really prefer that. But instead, Friday, I looked to see what I'm supposed to talk about. And this was the talk that I came up with 2 months ago. Combating loneliness and isolation with a Nifty technique. I haven't the foggiest idea what that is. Although I know that at the time I had one. At the time, I should have just wrote the talk. So I did some research. And it's not that I don't think this is a topic worth talking about. I think it is. So God and Google and I did some research. I'm shocked at how many ideas people have written about to overcome what they know is a problem, which is isolation, loneliness, a sense of separation. One of my first practitioners when I was a minister, because ministers need a practitioner, practitioners need practitioners. How many of you have a practitioner? God bless you. You know how important that is. And some of you are going, what that is taking someone on to be your partner in your spiritual evolution. Your partner in your spiritual evolution. Anyway, so my first prayer practitioner was Reverend Lloyd Tupper, and he always said, the thing we need to heal the most is the sense of separation, because the sense of separation is the original sin, and it is the sin from which all other sins happen. And for those of you new to this philosophy, and you're hearing the word sin, don't be afraid. By sin, we mean mistake, the thing that causes us to stumble, the thing that causes us to misinterpret reality. So when I judge somebody, we would call that a sin, because I know that as I judge, I'm condemning my own idea of myself, because most likely I've done something similar or thought it. So to condemn another the mind is paying attention. So that's not my talk. But I'm just really going into the deep end of despair right now, like sin, sickness, original sin, loneliness, and isolation. Hopefully we'll end up someplace else. So I Googled how to work with loneliness and isolation, and there were lots of ideas. There were do these 15 things, do these 12 things, then there was books, like a thing a day, and I'm going, can we just narrow it down to something that I can talk about? So I landed on this, I landed on 4 ways to cope with loneliness. And I actually hate that word. So great, here's loneliness, let's just cope with it. How about, here's loneliness, let's deal with it in such a way that we rise above it. We're no longer affected by it. We're no longer controlled by it. We're no longer shaped by it. We rise above it. And I'm not talking about spiritual bypass. I'm happy. No, I'm talking about ways that we are no longer affected by that condition. They had 4 ideas, and I like them. That's why I'm talking about them. And the first one, I love this. Sometimes we say that this is ancient wisdom and new thought. A lot of what we talk about are new thoughts, meaning let's think about this again, about ancient wisdom. Because there was some good wisdom. And one of the things that shows up over and over and over again, including this list that was put together by mental health experts, It's the first one. The first one was to practice gratitude. I mean, come on. I mean, everywhere you turn, it's practice gratitude. It's like, okay, let's practice gratitude. It's like, if we could bottle gratitude, copyright it, somehow make a formula for it, put it in a vial, sell it on the streets. You want a good time? I've got some gratitude, you know? I'll give you a little sample of gratitude, and then you can come back later and pay me. No, really, think about it. It is so powerful. It is so powerful. And it's especially powerful for people who suffer with depression. Also, I will say that there is a book on, a huge book, and I didn't read it, I just read the cover flap. You know, you open it up and get the synopsis, and I go, yeah, that's good. And I don't have to buy that book. But anyway, this book was written by a psychologist that worked that specialized in people with depression. And she noticed that people with depression were always looking down. Guess what she got them to do? Look up. And the depression dissipated when they were looking up. I mean, this is ancient wisdom. Look into the hills, look into the hills. And what did Jesus do before a great miracle? He looked up and gave thanks. Two ancient wisdoms for the price of one. So that's what they neglected to say, is to look up, but it's just gratitude. I have this wonderful, I have a family member, love this family member, has been depressed most of their life. Yes, they take pills. Yes, they try to get on stuff. Yes, they do these things. Yes, they're out in they like one person after first service says, you know, get them to walk. That person walks. Get them to go outside. That person goes outside. And it's like, but when they're with me, we play a game. And the game is, tell me 3 things you're grateful for today. So it's like, I'm around, okay, I'm supposed to come up with 3 things, aren't I? I mean, they know, around me, let's talk about 3 things. But guess what? At the end of the 3rd thing, they do feel better. Do you feel better? Yeah. You hate to admit it, but yeah. You want to do this on your own? Probably not. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Look up gratitude. Now, I don't feel lonely. I don't feel isolated, and I don't feel depressed. But I know people who are, so lovingly, I can encourage. Let's play a game, and it goes like this. What are 3 things you're grateful for today? 2, according to the mental health experts, is participate in meaningful activities. Meaningful activities, not just activities, meaningful activities. When I looked at the pictures of the people that made the blessing bags, man, how many of you saw the pictures of the people, either participated or saw their pictures? Didn't it seem like the whole room was aglow? I mean, look at that. That you ask people to smile, they don't smile that big. That was after a meaningful activity. Something that gives value to others. When you engage your mind and spirit in something that is beyond yourself, there will be an opportunity to experience connection, which I'll talk about later. Because even though you may not know the people, or I won't know the people that are getting the blessing bag, there's a connection. It's a meaningful activity. In fact, actually, I think what I will do is Tim and I will just go to places and gather up stuff and make our own bags. Like, I can make my own bags. That would be fun. I won't. If I had grandchildren that weren't in California, I would get them involved. Have it be a family activity, something meaningful, something meaningful. Number 3, Remember, you are unique. So thank you that you were inspired to sing that song today, Becca. You are unique. You're different. You're not supposed to be like anyone else. And comparison is detrimental to our mental health. Comparison is detrimental. So when I take people on a tour or when we do a retreat or a class with me, what's the first rule? No complaining. We should hear, some people don't know. What's the first rule? No complaining. Yes, no complaining. I mean, it really just muddies the pot. You know, I came up with that when I was on, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. Oh, I remember the trip. Oh, I didn't want to have that flashback, but I remember the trip. A little bit of complaining and then a little more complaining, and it's almost like people were competing for the most complaining thing. It's like it took off. It was awful. But now I have a second ground rule. And so unless you've gone with me recently, you don't know the second ground rule. The second ground rule is no comparing, because it could wreck the whole thing. For those of you that have gone to our January retreat, some people go again and again, but if you go with the idea that you want the same experience as you had the year before, you're comparing and you won't have it. And then you could slip into complaining. It's easy to mess up your life when you start to compare. If you look at someone else, anyone else, you're going to evaluate them as having more or having less, and either one of them are awful. All those. Because there is no superiority or inferiority in God. It's unique. Skill. Talent. Ability. Shortcomings. Flaws. That's just the way it is. But boy, comparing, So, I got really adamant about comparing when I did it to myself, because I've gone to Egypt a bunch of times, and we have always stayed at this place called the Mina House. And the Mina House has a lot of history. It was a beautiful palace, so they've added extra rooms. It's right across the street from the Great Pyramid. Back in the day, those were the days, my friends. You could go out the gate, across the street, into the gate that led up to the Giza Plateau. So we'd go at night and just walk around the pyramids in the moonlight. I mean, it was fun. Now they've got it all gated up and they make it tickets and all that stuff. But anyway, so I've always loved the Mina House. The Mina House, it had meaning. It was historic. And then it was bought by the Marriott. And I knew it was bought by the Marriott. Okay, it's bought by the Marriott. But we drive in, and instead of saying Mina House, it says Marriott. And I went, wah! Compare. Criticize. All of this is in my own head, but it ruined my first night there, because it wasn't the way it used to be. Whereas the people on the bus moving in with me, they didn't know. They were having a great time. They thought they were in heaven. I went to hell because I compared and I criticized. Here's the other thing about that, is that when we compare, we are the observer, not the connector. We have set ourselves apart as somehow evaluating and critiquing and judging what's going on, which is furthering the sense of separation, the granddaddy of all sins, the sense of separation. So, actually, when I have talked to people and they are not feeling good about themselves, there's usually a comparison. There's a comparing themselves to someone else or the way they used to be. Number 4. According to the health experts, they say that, now this is interesting, they say that to combat isolation and loneliness, and that, by the way, aloneness and loneliness are not the same thing. I love being alone. Leave me alone. I just love being alone. I love getting on a plane. You want to know why I love getting on a plane? It's because I'm by myself. You know, until we land, I'm by myself. I read what I want to read. I eat I'm just so happy. Anyway, so, but the experts say that one of the things that combat loneliness and isolation is actually connecting with yourself. Connect with yourself. And it reminded me of what has been called in the Bible the Great Commandment. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and thou shalt love your neighbor as yourself. It's all about love. Now, why do I say that? Because Mother Teresa was asked what the biggest disease was, and she's in India, and she says the most, what did she say? The worst diseases are not, you can tell the time she was writing in, the worst diseases are not TB and leprosy. And now we might say COVID or whatever. She said, that's not the worst disease. The worst disease that plagues humankind is loneliness. And the only cure for loneliness is love. So that's really the heart of what I want to get to. Is yes, we can be grateful. And yes, we can do meaningful things. And as my friend after the first service said, get up, have them go out and walk. You know, like, okay, yes, we can go and walk, and all sorts of things. But you know, it's all going to come down to love. Love, 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 and more love. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and love your neighbor as yourself. And it's hard to love something that is like, where is it anyway? What is it anyway? And yet, I love it. It's also in the Bible that says we can love because we were first loved. So first, seek to know that you are loved. Seek to know that something loves you. Seek it, seek it, seek it. Don't just take my word for it. In fact, don't take my word for it. Don't take anybody's word for nothing. Really, when it comes to spiritual matters, all they can do is throw out some things that work for them. You try them on. If it works, great. If it doesn't, drop it. Try something else. But I will say that for me, one of the reasons that I think I had the life I had, which was materially not very good but spiritually divine, is that I knew from an early age I was loved. Something loved me. Something cared for me when others couldn't. Something was going on. So I encourage you to pray something. I'm encouraging you to pray something like this. Call it whatever you want to call it. I call it Father, Mother, God, because when I was growing up, I didn't really have a father, so Father God felt good. But I also know that it's not just a father, it's also everything. It's Divine Mother, so I could say Father, Mother, God. You say anything you want. Harry. Chuck, Melissa, just Holy Spirit, Jehovah, Jesus Christ. Don't say, when you say Jesus Christ, say it with a little reverence, though. However you want to do it, Krishna, it doesn't matter. But address something. This is one of the most important things I ever got from Ernest Holmes. God is a principle. When we talk about principles, if you take Beyond Limits, you're going to know about principles. There's a law, and it works a certain way. And it will always work that way, and that's why you want to learn those laws. But guess what? It's a principle that becomes personal when you call upon it. So it's not some big, slot machine in the sky. If you just keep doing that affirmation, eventually it'll pay off. Now you know how long ago it was that I did slot machines. Gee, no, it's personal. So address it. Address it personally and say, show me your love. Reveal to me your love. Hit me with your love. I don't know what you want to say, but I want to know I'm loved, and I want to know I want loved now. I want to know it now, not later. I don't want to know that somebody else knows I'm loved. I want to know love. You have a right to feel it. And man, that's going to shift things. You screw up, I'm still loved. You do well, you're loved. You're not loved because you do well, you're just loved. Woo! Number 2, take that love and start applying it to this incarnation that you're in, this personality. You were so loved you became. God so loved the idea of a unique expression of life like you that you became. And you came with your own skills and your own talents and your own lessons to learn, and it was unique. You're as unique as your fingerprint. Cool, now appreciate it. So sort of like a gratitude, sort of like that. Say 3 things you appreciate about yourself every night. I appreciate this about myself, and I appreciate that about myself. And if you think about it, after about a week, you're going to start to run out of stuff. And then you're really going to have to know yourself. What did they put on the side of the Temple of Delphi? If you wanted to know God, you had to know yourself. What a practice that becomes. And I'll tell you, there's some things it's like I really need to remember this because I can be influenced by society and my own expectations of who I'm supposed to be. This guy, this idiot that put a video on Facebook, he said, you should be able to just squat. First of all, these muscles don't do that. And then you should just be able to get up without using your hands. I was offended. I could, there was a time in my life I could do a squat like anyone else. I could get up on my own. I was so proud. But anyway, I'm not that way anymore. But then he went on, luckily, and he said, and you should be able to sit cross-legged on the floor. I can do that. You should be able to touch your toes. I could do that. He said, and can you put your hands on the floor? I can do that. Two out of 4 so far. And then he said, and you should be able to put your socks on without having to sit down. I went, 3 out of 5 is not bad. 3 out of 5 is not bad. Appreciate what you got going on. Because there will be things you're not doing, but there's things you are. Appreciate yourself. Appreciate yourself. Now, this is very important. Why you should be doing that. Because according to some therapists, there are 6 human needs. Now, this is not Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where survival, you get your food, you get your shelter, all that stuff. This is emotional, mental needs. And I would say maybe even spiritual, although they wouldn't use those words. The first need is certainty. We like things the way they are. Don't shift anything. Why do you think it takes so long for our country to adopt a good idea? Because the bad idea is certain. Second need, variety. They're competing needs. So you know what we do? We change our hair. We change the styles. We change the color. What is that paint company that puts out the color of the year? You just painted the other color, but paint this color now. Isn't it what's the name? Sherman-Williams. This is the new color. Don't change things that are really important. Change things that are on the surface. Woo! Third, significance. But we're not going to get it if we expect someone else to give us our sense of significance. We have to find that significance within ourselves. Therefore, appreciate yourself. Will help you have a sense of significance. Plus, when you are doing meaningful experiences and activities, you will feel significant. Number 3, now we're going to move on to taking that love. So we let God love us. We let God show us how lovable we are. We appreciate who we are. And then we love others, to love others as ourselves, to appreciate others as they are, to bless and love in obvious and sneaky ways. So today that will be a sneaky way of loving, because sneaky is just as good as obvious. Which brings me to the last 3 of the 6 human needs. Number 4, love and connection. And actually, I would say love and connection should go together, because how many of you think you love someone, but you haven't connected with them in the last year? It usually shows up during the holidays. Oh, yeah. You lost your job and you didn't tell me because you haven't talked. I mean, how many of you have had that experience? You know some of your best friends and then you see them and like, whoa, who knew? I had no idea, because you're not connecting. Love and connection is important. Number 5, growth. We really want to grow and change. There is a need to grow. There's a need to not be stagnant. And there's a need for contribution. Contribution. That means giving your time, talent, and treasure, and I would say a bit of your consciousness to another, or to something that you believe in. So there's things like doing blessing bags, and if you have them in your car, that give them, but also maybe not just the things in the bag, but bless, bless, bless. I had that opportunity today when somebody cut me off on the freeway, and there wasn't anybody I was like, there's nobody on the road, really? Really? And I slammed on the brakes, and the person behind me slammed on the brakes, and I did do the thing with my horn because I wanted them to make up your mind. But I wasn't mad. I was like, wake up. I prayed for them, wake up. I was praying, Father, Mother, God within, they need some coffee. They need some, have them turn on some rock music. Heavy metal would be good right now, I think. Gee. One of the things that we can do in that sneaky, loving way is to see the very best in a person when they're not able to see it in themselves. One of the sneaky things that we do in my classes is when I have, with my TAs, my teaching assistants, and I want our teaching assistants, is whoever's talking, the teaching assistants are looking right here. They've trained and look here, because what they're doing is it's a way of acknowledging the connection between soul and spirit. And for those of you that have been in groups with me, you've tried this out, and sometimes we'll actually just see the flame. We'll see things happening. Some people have sparks, some people have a flame, some people just have an aura, but you start to see it because you want to witness it, and therefore it shows up. And in the last class I was teaching, people would go through things so quickly. Like something that would have really, probably on my own, we would have maybe had to take a half an hour or 45 minutes. They get through it in like 10 minutes because I know the TAs are doing their work. And Spirit is just working through them so quickly. That is, wow. It's important. Because I think the biggest loving thing you can do for someone is listen to everything they say and know that God's still in the midst of their problem. Jesus said, where 2 or more are gathered in my name, meaning that Christ Spirit, it shall be established on earth as it is in heaven. So agree with their highest self, not the issue they're going through. It's such a high calling and such a gift to give. Watch people move through things quickly or more quickly when you do this. when you know that they will move through. You don't have to say anything. like my relative does, it may not be appreciated. So you're going to have a chance to do that today. Today you're going to pray for someone. Ooh. And for all of it, don't get upset, don't get scared. Yeah, I love men's going, oh, why did I come today? You're going to pray for someone, but first you're going to have something to pray about. So I'd let you have each of you, everyone's got a piece of paper, kind of a little cardboard paper thing. Everybody get one? And then everyone has Kenny, right behind you, honey. Kenny, Leslie's. So, and there's pins in the seat backs in front of you, or share a pin. Kenny, there's some more. Now, I'm going to give you some instructions on what to do about this. I would love for you to write the desire of your heart on here, not the story. Like, my Aunt Mabel never liked me. In fact, actually, she always loved all my brothers and sisters and other cousins. And Aunt Mabel is about to make her will, and I'd really like her to include me in it. Bitch. No. How many of you have gone there? I'm not saying that, yeah. I'm just saying, don't tell the story. Say something like, the desire of my heart is to know that I am loved and appreciated by my family. The desire of my heart is that I have confidence in my ability to make decisions. That would be it's simple. I'm not going to give you the back story, the front story, the side story. Just what's on your heart. Write that down. Oh, also, someone said something to me later after this second service. Kind of make it clear, because someone else is going to read this. So if you are a doctor, she said, a doctor must have written this. If you have really kind of interesting handwriting, try to make it legible. All right? A legible heart's desire on this card. And then fold it over. Okay? And in a moment, after everyone has written a brief heart's desire, fold it over so no one can see what it is. In a moment, then you're going to pass the requests to the center aisle. And Kenny's going to come along with a basket and take them. And then when you leave, you're going to reach into the basket and pick one. And you're going to pray, hopefully this week, for someone else. Now, just questions asked. What if I get my own? That's God saying, get over this thing. It's a sign. You're double dosing. And for those of you online, there will be a prayer circle after the service with prayer practitioners. Please not only listen to the prayers of other people, but say, I'd like to pray for that as well. So it will be an open opportunity for those of you online. All right, everybody sort of got theirs done? All right, when you have yours done, move it to the center. And notice what happens to you when you've been praying for someone else for a week. Notice what happens to you, and I'd love to hear what happens next week. I'd love to know what happened, because it's very powerful to hold someone else's well-being in your mind for a week. So Kenny's moving forward. Thank you so much, Kenny. Yay. Thank you for passing these down. Thank you, Debbie. Yay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, and Deborah, did you get yours in? Okay, good. All right, everyone have theirs in? Wonderful. And there's still some at the back when you get done, Kenny. All right. So, Kenny will be collecting, and we're going to turn we're going to do a closing prayer. Let's just take a deep breath. And I go back to the words of Mother Teresa. The only thing that can truly heal and lift us out of isolation and loneliness is love. But you know what? Love will lift us out of a whole lot of things. So let's once again open our consciousness to the love of God present where we are. We don't have to do anything, earn anything, say anything. We don't have to promise anything. We are already loved. As much love as we can have, it's ours now. So open to that love. And let that love reveal all of the beautiful uniqueness that is you, that is me, that is everyone we meet. Beautiful, loving, gorgeous expressions of life. And now allow that love to escape into the desire for the well-being of others. Whether we participate in a meaningful activity or we just share our consciousness through prayer. All of it is a blessing. And so it is.